So this is family here. And I don't know where to begin other than to say I love you. Megan, you have meant so much to not just me, but to my husband, Colin, to our family. And I love you dearly. And I hope you know this every time I see you, that I'm so thankful for you. And I appreciate you so much. And so it's weird to be sitting here and having this conversation right now.
It finally happened.
But it finally happened.
We finally did it.
But listen, you are booked and busy. And by the way, Katrina was filling me in on some other things that you got going on, which is amazing. But I do want to talk first quickly about your own podcast and what made you want to do this and why, because listen, I think there are many things that you've said that you've gotten yourself in trouble with. So why would you put yourself out there with your podcast, A Touch More podcast, and also the production company is also named after it. But why? Aren't you worried you're going to say something again and go back and forth with President-elect? What's going on?
Yeah. Oh God, we're back there.
Yes, we are.
Terrifying times. We started it. I do it with Sue, my partner, and we started it. The OG was really in the pandemic, and it was just kind of like a fun thing for us to blow off a little steam, bring a little levity to what was a really wild time. And we actually just really enjoyed it. And that was, 5 years ago or whatever. And I think being retired, both of us, all of a sudden not having a mic in our face all of the time, not really of course we have a platform to say whatever we want to say. If I wanted to, get online and say something or put something out or, talk to a journalist, I could do that, but you're always sort of at the behest of someone else. And I feel like being an athlete, I always really loved and appreciated the opportunity to, every day or every game or whatever it was, have this platform. People are going to ask me questions, but I'm like, I could say whatever I wanted and talk about the things that were important to me and talk about things that are important to our team or things we're fighting for or whatever. And that really changed not being an athlete. So I feel like it's given us an opportunity to continue to talk about the things that we care about.
Right.
We talk pretty much exclusively about women's sports, intersection of politics, culture, all of that. And I feel like for Sue and I, we are important voices. I'm not gonna toot a horn or just gas myself up over here, but I think us two have been in the game a long time. We have sort of a really long view of women's sports and the way that it interacts with the world for really a decades long sort of stretch. And we feel like we have a lot to offer. And I think especially now seeing what's happening with women's sports, whether it's the Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, people are going to be like, oh, this is what's happening. And it's no, actually, let me take you back 2 decades and let me take you back 10 years and give a more nuanced view of what's happening because it's sports are sports, yeah, but women's sports is different. There's misogyny and racism and all of these things interact with how popular it is and how many people are watching and who's popular and what teams are popular and what players are popular and why they're popular and what's hitting and what isn't. There's always 3 or 4 layers of nuance. So I feel like this podcast gives us the opportunity to kind of deep dive those things. And then also we just have fun and yak and just talk a little bit.
Yeah. And here's the thing. You guys have gone viral plenty of times. Was there a moment that you saw from the podcast, you guys went viral and you're like, that's what got picked up?
Yeah, all the time. Honestly, who knows what people like and why they like it and when they like it or where they like it. I don't watch it back a ton, to be honest. I've always just been uncomfortable, watching myself speak. I'm not uncomfortable speaking or doing things, but watching it back is always a little weird. And I just feel like I want to know what people want to hear and I want to hear the feedback, but I also don't want to get too attuned to that where now I'm just only thinking okay, what do people want to hear? That's what I want to say.
Right.
What do people want to talk about? That's what I want to say and get a little kind of canned with it. I want to continue to stay true to who I am. And, I think Sue feels the same as well.
Is there a guest that you haven't had on the show yet that you really want to get?
Oh my gosh, so many people.
Come on, let's manifest this.
People are busy. Well, Colin.
Yeah.
We wanted to get the vice president, but I feel like she probably already had all of our people voting for her, or maybe not. That part? Yeah, that part. Yeah. Great job, everybody, for showing up. other athletes, like I would love to get Angel and Caitlin. I think that'd be interesting.
Ooh.
I would love to get Trinity Rodman. Really interesting story. Honestly, all the triple espresso, Trinity, Malin, Sophia. I want to talk to like commissioners of leagues too. I think that's just like so interesting to just, especially I feel like it's so different in women's sports than men's sports. And obviously men's sports are a much more mature business. They've been around for so much longer. So it's like, I feel like we get compared now, women's sports gets compared now to where men's sports is now. And it's like, yeah, I mean, the NBA has been around like 50 years longer than the W. Why do we have to compare it like this? So yeah.
Oh, wait. Okay, wait. So here you are with the commissioner. Let's go with Roger Goodell. What would you ask him? What would you talk to him about? What would Megan Rapinoe ask Roger Goodell?
I would, oh gosh. I mean, like the petty Megan or like the.
Let's go with petty Megan. Then why don't we go with evolved conversation, mature Megan first, and then we'll go to petty.
I mean, I would.
There's a lot.
I mean, I don't know how much they really care about this, but like the health and safety of the players, I think continues to be something that like is like undermining the business eventually. But I don't know, business is also a booming in the NFL, and they're, they have tons of fans and tons of people watch them. But I feel like health and safety is always just something that is like a real detriment to that league. So how do they continue to evolve and protect players, whether that, is literally on the field or insurance and pensions and, sort of like retirement programs going forward.
That's a great, that's important for sure.
Like, I mean, I think the Guardian cap thing is really interesting. The players don't want to wear it because it doesn't look cool or it doesn't look good, but the science seems to be showing that it's like helping a lot, but like that's not being pushed. So something like that could actually like help prolong and keep the players safer for longer, which helps the business. Right. But then it doesn't like look like traditional football. So
it's so interesting.
Yeah, something that's interesting. I mean, I think that they handled like Colin's situation and just the racism in general exactly how they wanted to. So I feel like I don't really have any questions. I feel like they answered them all.
Yeah, they show it.
Yeah, they really
they still have Colin blackballed.
Yeah, they really show it. Maybe just like his thank you note to Taylor Swift for like revitalizing the NFL and like that was like a $500 million boom like to the NFL and
she deserves a cut of something.
That's how I was like, what's her cut?
Like where's her cut?
Yeah,
seriously, like all teams, all the tickets, some type of proceeds. It should go to the Taylor Swift marketing like guru that she is. Yeah, without even trying.
Yeah, I'm like that was the most exciting thing about the NFL season.
I don't even know who her boyfriend is. I know her. I'm like, who is she even dating?
Yeah, I'm just like whoever we know her. We know her. Yeah, I know. It's like it was pretty wild to watch it last year, and it was really interesting watching the sort of like the meltdown, whether it was like in the broadcast booth or like by male fans. Because I'm also like, that if Roger didn't want to put her on TV, she wouldn't be on TV. Right. Or if Fox or CBS or whoever didn't. So it was funny to watch like some of the broadcasters melt down. I was like, y'all bosses are putting Taylor Swift on camera 20 times a game because she's making you money. So
that's a really good point.
That was funny to me. I was like, oh, this is cute.
How do you feel like media has changed when it comes to like reporting on women's sports? Like when you notice that, I thought that what you just said right now, that's like great insight because obviously someone's making the calls to plaster Taylor Swift all over the place. So now that you are behind the mic and you have your production company, do you look back on your career and the times you were in front of the mic as an athlete and you're like, oh, that was the game. I got played, or like, what have you learned?
Well, I got a real crash course in it, thanks to Colin and thanks to, kneeling with him and like that was more intense than anything I had ever experienced personally, but also just, I think in women's sports, that was just like, we got like the sort of like national media. We got like everything that was sort of like the big hitters right away. So I feel like I understood right away, oh, that's the game. Like they don't want to talk about kneeling, they want to talk about the flag, or they don't want to talk about this, they want to talk about the military or whatever. So I was like, okay, I understood it at that point. So that was kind of my crash course. I think there's like two things that that I guess just want to say about it. I think for me personally, I feel like in women's soccer, and whether it's equal pay or this sort of reckonings around like the sexual abuse or the abuse that players had in the NWSL, we had a couple really amazing reporters that really helped us, I feel like, and were really like not on our side, but like the truth was on our side. And so them being willing to tell the truth and to report on us, I feel like was really helpful. So I don't love it when there's just a blanket like, oh, it's, players versus media, because I don't always think that's true. So I've had good experience, but then I've also been on the other side of that with, it's like they want to help on certain things. Racism is not generally something that a lot of people, especially at the time when Colin knelt 2016, 17, that wasn't generally something people wanted to speak on in a way that was talking about the truth and educational. And then I feel like this year in the WNBA has been really interesting because there's a lot of racial undertone always in the W. It's a predominantly Black league, and it always has been. So there's a lot of misogynoir there. It's maybe not predominantly gay, but there's like a very large swath of the players are gay, so it's very open. And I think this sort of Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark conversation has been happening for a number of years through college and, coming this year. But I think there was a lot of media members, not new media members, but media members who were uneducated and really like not really very nuanced about like what the W actually was and what was happening. And like, they would say like, oh, like everybody's playing so hard against Caitlin Clark. Well, the WNBA is like a million times better than college. That's why it was a lot harder for her in the beginning. And that's why she struggled. Right. Because she's playing against the, 144 best players in the league. There's only 12 teams. There's not very many players. So like for all the players, they were like, this is normal. Of course she's going to struggle, but then it was like a lot of fans also coming in and being like, well, she's being targeted, which really means she's being targeted because she's white and she's being targeted by Black players. So what does that mean? And then media just being like, well, this is what I'm hearing. And it's like, where are you hearing that? Are you hearing that online? Is that even a real person that you're hearing it from?
Ooh, that part.
Yeah, there's a lot of bots.
Yes.
And there's a lot of like, I feel like bots sort of setting the meta narrative, and then people are like clamoring onto that. And so a lot of media members, I feel like just not really doing a good job of like actually reporting what's happening and sort of fanning the flames of the like Caitlin Clark versus everyone, which is, unfair to her, but unfair to the rest of the players who've been playing here for a really long time. And so I feel like some narratives just really like took when that didn't need to. And then a lot of players like receiving racist threats and receiving homophobic threats and like having fans show up at their, hotels. And so it was just, and I feel like a lot of mainstream media members like didn't do a good job because they just were now hopping on. They're like bandwagoning. Yeah. Because it's like, oh, the W is popular now, or Caitlin Clark is bringing a lot of attention, which she did, but not really understanding like the long history of it.
And okay, so I'm gonna be honest, I'm a bandwagon viewer now.
That's okay.
I am. Yeah, I enjoy Angel Reese, and I like Caitlin Clark. I like the competitiveness. I liked that there was action going on. And I feel so bad saying that because I just was like, but I'm honest. Like I wasn't, watching it before consistently, but Katrina, who in her mind believes that she was an athlete, has been consistently watching the WNBA. So, Katrina has a lot to say about this in general. She reports on my show, on my radio show on Hot 97, all the stuff that's going on in women's sports. Do you judge me because I'm bandwagon viewer? I'm not bandwagon media person though. That I won't do because I feel like that's so shady. Like, but I am a bandwagon viewer to
It's
the
honestly,
WNBA.
it's okay. Like the media contingent needs to continue to grow. The fan contingent needs to continue to grow. No, I'll never hate on anybody for coming to women's sports. There's basically like one simple rule, like don't be an asshole. You know?
Right.
Don't be racist. Don't be homophobic. Don't be misogynistic. Don't be sexist. And like everything else is welcome. You know,
In life.
It's just in general, but certainly in women's sports. No, I don't judge at all. I actually feel like, you know, for whatever reason, for a lot of different reasons, Caitlin is one of them. Angel's one of them. The fact that the WNBA is amazing and has been amazing for 20 something years, like a changing cultural, you know, vibe around women's sports, increased media coverage, players on social media, whatever. There's a ton of examples. We're having this breakthrough moment across multiple women's sports, you know, whether it's like at the Olympics, I feel like women had a huge summer, and whether it's like Alona Mar or Sha'Carri Richardson or, you know, USA basketball or USA soccer, like whatever it may be. And so it's actually a really exciting time. Like anytime someone gets in the door, they love it. Right?
I agree.
And so it's like, just get them into the door, and it's a huge growing business. I feel like that's just the most exciting part. You can't, you know, if we hate on everyone who hasn't been here the whole time, well, then we're just going to continue to be the only ones here, you know? But I feel like women's sports is actually offering a really amazing and exciting alternative to men's sports. It's something that's different, but you're getting the thing that you love, which is like live action.
What do you think is the one misconception about women's sports that you're just like, okay, guys, we need to get past this? That's not the case. I mean, I'm sure there's a laundry list, but something you're like, all right, we got to get rid of this.
I feel like in general, people, and it's usually people who have never been to any kind of live game ever or watched it, they're just like, it's not as exciting, or it's not exciting, period. And like, you can't tell me, I mean, I saw you at the game, the Liberty game at Barclays.
My God, it was so good.
Can't tell me that game's not exciting.
It was so good.
Like,
that
shit's amazing.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah. So it's just like women's sports in general is exciting. Is it different from men's sports? Yes. But like, that's okay.
Right.
I feel like Sue always says this, it's like this difference. Like, I don't watch every sport. I don't like love to watch hockey.
Right.
But I don't like go out of my way to shit on hockey all the time.
Right.
Like it just like randomly, you know, like when I'm at Subway, I don't need to on hockey.
Yeah.
But it's just like, but men do that to women's sports all the time. And people just enjoy, I'm like, dude, no one was even asking about that, you know? So I feel like there's like such, and then that like gets into the culture. It's been the butt of jokes on SNL. It's been the butt of jokes on ESPN. And like, even, I mean, Sue and I were at SNL last year and like heard a negative joke about the women's college basketball. And we were just like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, this is crazy. So I feel like that kind of like poisons the groundwater, which just like get people in the building, get people to watch. I think they're watching now. Like, it's exciting.
For sure.
I'll bet my mortgage on it.
And you know what? For women's soccer, I really learned more about it because of you. And I felt like, while people were talking about when you join Colin's protest, like, oh, how could she do that? Like, for me, that was my entry point. I was like, oh my God, what? Mm-hmm. What is happening? And I just think that for me, I didn't realize how amazing women's sports was, like in general. Yeah. And I just think that goes back to the culture and the programming that we've had. And now at this moment, do you think this momentum is going to stay? Like, what happens next? Because I always hear people saying, if you want to support women's sports, you have to go to the game. You have to watch. You have to invest your time into it so that, I guess, sponsors and corporations know that this is important. So we should pay more. And the reason why, women's sports and women athletes aren't getting paid the same like men, it's because they don't have the same viewership. I don't really know I don't know enough about it to like really get it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, what you as a legendary athlete, as someone who's been in the game for a long time, now you're retired and you know how media works, you know how corporations work, you know how equal pay and all these things work. What is the answer to this? Is it really us investing time so that corporations can see that and that turns into dollars?
Yeah, that's a part of it for sure. Like, the building at Barclays is full every time the Liberty play there. I don't even know if the Nets can say that. So it's like,
right.
Stadiums are full. Last year, women's college basketball, the final was like 19 million people watched the final. Like that, those are real numbers. Obviously there's a bunch of numbers. I feel like that's part of it. Just people investing their money, going to the games, making it something that is exciting and something that they're going to go to. I also feel like it's crossed over this like cultural barrier. What's like something that's just like so ubiquitous in men's sports? Celebrities and stars of the like our general culture, whether it's like artists or musicians or actors or actresses. Like women's soccer final in London, like Tom Cruise was there.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg was there. I mean, he was everywhere at the Olympics, but like former players were there. Like, it's just like that's happening. You go to a Liberty game and like Alicia Keys is there and Colin and Nessa are there and Gayle King is there and Spike Lee is there. Like that says something about like the cultural crossover that's like, okay, it has this cachet, right? So it's like people want to be it, watch it, see it, be there, be seen at it. So that's part of it. And I think from a business perspective, and this really has always been true, but I feel like the business is sort of catching up now. I mean, just literally, there's like guys in those like puffy vests that have their like hedge fund embroidery.
Oh, gosh.
They're there.
Right.
Right. So like, if they're there, the money's there. And I feel like it's becoming this like investable asset that has a huge growth opportunity.
Right.
So a lot of these teams have been successful by a lot of measures. Like, all the finals games that Sue's ever played in have been sold out. Like, and she was playing 20 years ago. So it's not that people weren't into it, but it wasn't like being seen as this like culturally cool thing. Now it really is. So now you have this huge fan base full of people. I think NIL for basketball has been a really big thing. You're getting these like college stars and you're kind of following them all the way into the pros. It's like kind of debunking this myth that like there's no money and like nobody makes money.
Yes.
And like the highest paid female athletes list just came out and 9 of the top 10 are still individual athletes. It's Coco Gauff at number 1 at 30 million, bunch of tennis players, couple golfers. And then there's Caitlin Clark at $11 million. And for Caitlin Clark to make $11 million on a women's sports league, it's like she's not just an individual athlete. That's huge. That says to me that companies are now investing in her because they know that when she plays like on national TV or whatever, people are going to watch. Like people know who that is. Like you can only make so much as a team sport athlete if nobody's watching your games. I think that's something that's been unique about U.S. Women's National Team is like, we're not a league, but we're kind of this like one team league. But like you can show up, it's consistent, and like sponsors know that this player is going to play in front of national televised audiences 20 times a year. And then, twice every 4 years, they're going to have Olympics and they're going to have World Cup and they're going to have these like moments. And like, I think that's what's happening with women's sports now is like all of these boxes are being checked and the engagement is huge. The fan base is there. Anytime any merchandise is available, it's sold out immediately. People want it.
Yes.
And now it's actually starting to be serviced. Those demands are starting to be serviced and met with supply. And like it's getting sold out, everything. So whether that's TV or jerseys or, players' Instagrams or whatever, like the fans are just like, give us more. And now businesses and money and private equity are getting involved and it's happening.
So do you feel vindicated in this? Are you like, I told you guys, like, hello, we've been telling you.
Yeah.
Do you and Sue talk trash like every day? Like, these
Mother about time.
Yes.
Man. I'm like, well, I don't want to be rude now that you're here.
Right.
Even though I told you.
Yeah.
20 years ago.
That's so crazy.
No, it's like, yes, totally. We talk about it all the time. Like, are we jealous of this era of women's sports? Yes, of course. I would have loved to play in this era and been like, appreciated and like, paid at least some of what we're worth and like on this. But of course, I would love to do that. But like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would like love a lot of things, like, I mean, what are you going to do? Like, it's also just like, we're a huge part of that.
Absolutely.
And we feel really proud of that. And also this is exactly what we want and would have wanted these players to have all along. Like, of course we would have wanted it. And we know all the things that we didn't get and now they're getting it. And it's just like, and it is a vindication, I think, for all of us for so long of just like, yeah, it is cool. And
That's
it is
right.
exciting. And we do deserve this. And like, it's almost like all the excuses are just like up and people are like, okay, fine.
Okay, fine.
People being like the powers that be, they're like, okay, fine. Now we'll invest our $1 billion. Here.
Yeah.
We're
I
like,
was going to say, I love how you have always supported all the women in sports. And now that they're coming up and you're in your position, are there any women that you've kind of taken under your wing and been like, hey, you know, I went through this. Maybe this is how you might want to approach something that comes your way. Like, are there people that you're checking for and kind of checking in on?
yeah, always. I mean, I feel like, especially at the end of my career playing with so many of those younger players, you know, it's that delicate balance. You don't want to be like, hey, let me mentor you. I mean, scare someone off quicker. It's like, there's already the age gap and I'm already like old and he's like trying to speak their language is like so funny. I'm like, hey guys, I'm cool.
So you don't hop into TikToks with them? No?
Oh gosh, I'm so bad. I like don't get what's going on. I don't even have TikTok. It's like a whole thing. But yeah, definitely some of the younger players. I mean, Naomi Girma, I love so much. I feel like she's going to be a huge star. We already talked about Triple Espresso. Obviously Sue has a ton of relationships, whether it's, you know, Stewie or with Caitlin or Asia she played with, like all of these players. You know, it's not always like the one-on-one, but I feel like the blueprint has been left by a lot of us and by some players that are still playing. And I see that across like the globe, really. I see it like with, you know, England's women's team or like what they were doing in Spain and the protests that they went through and all the abuse that they handle. I see it in the NWSL. I see it in the WNBA. So I feel like part of it is like, yeah, any chance I get to talk with players and like, you know, just honestly just like encourage them too, because they have to find their own way. And I don't know all the things that are going to matter to them, you know, that didn't matter to us or that we just, you know, weren't there yet.
Right.
They're going to have to like walk through that. But I feel like the blueprint of taking power back and like realizing your own power. And, you know, I think the rise of like the players associations in all of the leagues has been really huge, and players realizing their own power and realizing how much influence they have and expertise they have to shape the way that the future of the leagues is going to go. I mean, I think the WNBA CBA is up next year. I think they opted out, so they're going to be going into bargaining this year. And it's really an amazing opportunity, I think, for the league and the players. You know, they have all of these mature men's leagues to look at and like gain information from, and then their expertise and everything that they've learned on their own. And now it's like, it's a cool opportunity at like the bottom of the hockey stick of the growth.
Right.
What made you retire? We enjoyed
I'm
watching.
old as shit. That's why I'm literally so old. In sports.
In
sports.
In sport.
Just in sports.
Okay, so that was it.
Yeah, that was really it. I feel like I was at the end of it, and it got so hard to just do the basic stuff. I was like, I'm having to basically do an hour's worth of prehab to just get my out on this field. And then in my final game, you know, I tore my Achilles. So I was like, okay, this is extreme. Like I was leaving. I was already leaving. We didn't have to do this like this.
We got it.
Yeah. But no, it felt time. I got to play in one last World Cup. I had an amazing last season with my club. We made it to the final. And even though I hurt myself like 3 minutes into the last game, I really don't feel like anything was taken. I don't feel cut short. Yeah. I was, 38 at the time, and it just was like, I really honestly like couldn't keep up anymore. And it was just a lot. I was like, I'm getting my ass busted and I got to get out of here before I embarrass myself. It was time.
That was honest.
It was time.
And it's soccer's like, you got to run.
Yeah, like
that's the thing.
You have to
gotta
run.
Yeah.
You have
for
to be
90
able to
minutes.
put in like a particular shift. And I feel like I'm modified and the team modified and everybody modified as much as possible. And I'm very thankful for that, especially in Seattle. But like at some point it was like, it's time. And I was ready. I was ready to do other things. And it is a lot of work. It is like you have to commit your like life, body, soul, emotions, everything, like your spirit to it. Otherwise, like someone's going to pass you up. Like it really does take that kind of commitment. And I was kind of like, okay,
I got
this is really hard. Yeah, I'm out.
Because soccer is one of those ones where I think like, when you're 3 years old, one of the first sports that it's like, all right, I have a daughter. She's 3.
Yeah.
Like, all right, you kick this ball.
Yeah.
Like you would think
It's
it
like
would
all
be
of them
something
running
you can,
around together.
it's like,
so
all
cute.
right, you don't need to dribble a basketball, but maybe you can kick the ball. Like when did you start playing soccer?
And realize that you're about to do this.
Like you could do this.
Well, I'm a twin and we have an older brother who's 5 years older than us and he played soccer. So we were always like playing with him and chasing after him. So we were like, 3 probably. And we had each other too. So it's like built-in buddy.
Yeah.
It was like one-on-one everything forever. And then we were always like chasing after him or going to his soccer practices. So we started really young. I mean, from a very young age, like at 5, we were really like more athletic than most kids. Yeah. I feel like my mom was like, oh, these like, we can dribble and we can dribble basketball and we can run past everyone and we can shoot and we can like do all these things. So I feel like it was from a young age. I mean, I don't, they didn't know I was, gonna be me,
gonna be this
but
iconic
I feel like
soccer
from
player.
a young age though, they were like, this bee's different. Like something's going on here with both of us too. And we're twins too. So then I feel like that kind of like sticks out even more. We both played all the way up until, we both went to college and played in college together. So I feel like from a young age, that's why honestly parents sometimes would be like, the kid would be older too, like in their teens and something. Sometimes they're like, what can we do to get them to the national team? And I'm like,
A little late.
they're not good enough, Like, they're not good, right? Like, can you see that? Like, they're not going to be.
They don't want it.
They like it, but they're also just like not good. You can see them playing. They should play and they should have a lot of fun and you shouldn't put any pressure on them. But they're not going to be
So
good
when
enough,
do we realize
Yeah, so
it?
when did we
when should I
realize?
pull my daughter out of soccer?
Yeah.
Like,
She needs to be busting from like a young age.
and
I
you
feel
could
like.
tell.
I feel like you can tell.
Yeah.
I think everybody,
Damn.
all of my friends, everybody who played is like, yeah, I was running the playground like from the day I got there.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ours.
I mean, sometimes they're like late. Sometimes they're late bloomers, of course, but like I feel like in general,
Usually early on.
yeah.
When you look back on your career, what would you say is your most proud moment?
Oh man, our equal pay lawsuit.
That's right.
And kneeling with Colin and coming out. I feel like the off-field stuff always is like, I mean, I'm so proud. We won World Cups, we won Olympic gold medals, we did all the things. I'm so proud of that. But some of that is just like, yeah, that's like everybody's talent. And it's like, yeah, we got to work hard. We got to do the things, of course. But like, it's like, what do you do with this God-given thing that you have? And I feel like, I mean, for me personally, but I also feel like our team and our generation of players, like really did everything we could to like try to make, not just the world, but like our lives and our sport and everything like better. We tried to like be that example for players. We didn't have that example a lot growing up. We didn't have even a ton of Black players on the team. We didn't have a lot of openly gay players on the team. For a while, like I was the only open gay player on the team. We didn't have people that had short pink hair, but like you couldn't even see that. There wasn't players that had box braids like on the field. So I feel like all of that, I think our generation of players really like understood how important that was and how impactful that was and the growing platform that we had. And I feel like honestly, it gave us this like dual mission or this like threaded mission of like, we want to win everything, but also like, we have this opportunity to change the world. And I feel like we did in so many ways.
Absolutely.
So I feel like all of that, but I think all the off-field stuff for me is the most meaningful because that's just that is my life. Like I am a woman, I am gay. Like, there's things that like I've experienced that I want to be better. And like, I feel like me and my teammates were like, we're going to take it upon ourselves and make it part of who we are to try to do that and to kind of like make things better, but also be that example for people. We're on TV all the time, mics in our face all the time. We're famous. We're on social media, all these things. It's like, you might as well use that for good. Otherwise it's like, what's the point?
I mean, for me, I saw you on the forefront demanding equal pay for women. How hard was that time period? I mean, it just felt like chaotic every single day. And you know what? Maybe because I was like seeing everything that Colin was going through. Also at the same time, it just felt like you can tell who was spewing negative stories to the media, right? About like women and who wants equal pay and why would they want this and this. And then you would be, and other players as well, of course, but you always felt like there was this constant fighting going on. How was it for you actually being in it, filing the lawsuit, all this to just get equal pay?
Yeah. Just
Like,
just to get some damn back pay.
And then ultimately things shake down.
Yeah.
But during that time period when it was very contentious, what were you thinking in your mind? Were you just like, damn, we just want equal pay. We have the viewership. We have this XYZ.
Yeah.
The women's team is more popular than the men's team. And like, what's the question at this point? And the men's soccer team's getting paid more than you guys. Like, were you cussing everybody out behind the scenes?
For sure.
Like,
For sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like, were you having rage? Like, what is so hard to understand?
Yeah. I mean, it was hard. It was hard because we were also required to win. Like, perform.
Yeah.
That's what we, wanted to do. That's what was required of us. That was what our job was. That's the goal. That's the whole point. So you're having to do all of that on the field, and then literally off the field, we're like reading legal briefs. And of course we had a lot of help and amazing lawyers and like a team of people around us, but like we had to do it. It wasn't just like, yeah, we have this lawsuit and like our lawyers are doing it. Like, the more we were involved, the better it was, and the more real and more authentic it was. And it had to require the players. And it was a lot. Like, it really was. I think sometimes like in the moment we were just like, well, this is what it is. I mean, like, no, I don't want to be doing this, but like, I'm damn sure gonna. And there was so many times I feel like, if I was tired, nobody else was tired. If they were tired, I wasn't tired. Like, it was kind of that thing where like there was, a whole team of people and even kind of like a smaller team within the group that like just would not stop. And it just became so much bigger, I think, than any one player. It became bigger than even our own lawsuit and our sport. Like, I wish we could have sued everybody on behalf of everybody.
Yeah.
But like, we have, still to this day, I have women come up and be like, I asked for a raise because like you guys did. And I like use the language that you did, And I feel like it really struck a nerve and it really like resonated with a lot of people. And so I think we were getting that feedback also. I think it was just a time of like civil unrest in the country in general.
Right.
Like, if you think 2000, back to, I feel like the sort of seminal moments of like Trayvon Martin, 13, Mike Brown, 14, so many others, obviously Colin kneeling, all that spurred, that administration, 2016 to 20, was just like crazy. And people starting to understand the power of their own voice and understanding the collective power, whether like whatever, whether we're talking about racism or equal pay, like it's all kind of the same thing.
It's all connected.
It's all connected. And I feel like that is something that we use as a strategy to like pull the sort of like general public and use in the media of like, yes, we're talking about equal pay, but we're also talking about all of these other things that are interconnected.
Right.
But no, it was like so annoying. And every time we would see anyone from the Federation, it was like, just mother people,
So
but then it's like, I'm not going anywhere. And you know that. Like, I know you're not going anywhere. So fair. But also, I'm not going anywhere either. And like we were winning and we were doing well. And we were like being successful and the sport was growing. And it was just like, it felt like one of those things also that like, there was just no way that we could lose. We took a lot of L's, like, but it just didn't feel like it. And it just always felt like this thing, like eventually this is going to get done. There's like, there's too much evidence. There's like too much social pressure.
Yeah.
It's just stupid. It's costing them so much money
Right.
to fight this thing that they eventually are just going to have to do. So it also just felt like there wasn't a loss for us in it. Like we were going to continue to do it until we weren't. And then it was like, these are like our peers, these are like some of my best friends to this day. We're like in this together. We're doing the thing that we've been like put on this earth to do in this time period. We just did it, but it was hard. It was really hard.
What exactly was the lawsuit and what were you guys fighting for?
So because U.S. Soccer Federation is a national governing body, we were essentially, contending or saying that they were treating us differently under the same working conditions as the men's team and paying us less because we were women and based on nothing else. And I mean, they really had terrible arguments for it all because there really was no argument to it all. They were doing that. They were paying us less and giving us less resources and lesser facilities. And, we were flying commercial while they were flying charter, different hotels and different size staffs and all that kind of thing. So that was really the kind of like key point was that it was like a national, governing body thing.
It was pay discrimination.
Yeah,
ultimately.
and it was pay discrimination under the law. So we originally filed with the EEOC, and that was actually going really well. And then there was the administration change, really just changed somehow. Our case just got forgotten
dismissed.
About. Yeah. So then we just kind of took the next step, filed, and then eventually settled.
2022. What a fight! Congratulations. I mean, do you ever look back and you're like, "That's our hard work"?
Oh yeah.
Good.
I mean, all the time.
Good.
I even just look at this team and what they have and the way that it's set up and the way they travel and how successful they are and the size of their staffs and the money they're making and their pay and all of that. And, with the settlement, a new collective bargaining agreement signed that had equal pay. So that actually was achieved, and I just look at that and I'm like, yes,
oh man,
we did that, but also you deserve that. You should never have to fight that. Again, you'll probably have other fights, but
that's right.
You never have to fight this
that gave me goosebumps right now.
Yeah, it's really cool. I feel so proud of it. And I know, everyone in our group and era feel just so much pride for that. And just the way that women's sports has gone in general, I think there's been just kind of this collective snowball effect that has gotten us to this really pivotal moment, I think, in our collective history.
Can you explain why being charter versus flying commercial is a big deal for women's sports? Because I've heard this conversation come up, especially with the WNBA and everything that was going on. Mm-hmm. Why is that important? Because I think sometimes people look at it, they're like, oh, that's just so bougie. That's just what, get over it. And it's no, there's real reasons why it is so much more beneficial for teams to have their flights chartered.
First of all, it's a security concern. Mm-hmm. I think first and foremost, you're trotting 20 of the most famous people in the country through an airport, and you can only go through so many side doors, and then you're just sitting on the plane with everyone, and there's just a lack of privacy. I also think the business supports it, so we can't be selling out stadiums and there's no money to take a charter flight.
Right.
I think there's a performance aspect to it at all. I mean, I know in the W they play back-to-backs. So
yes.
And they were flying commercial on back-to-backs.
Right. Do you know how hard that is?
Yeah. So you might get done at you have a night game. So you get done at whatever time you're sleeping, you're waking up, you're taking the first flight, you're getting in, you're going to shoot around, and then you're playing the game.
So crazy.
And I think even more for the W, even if they're not playing back-to-backs, they play damn near every 3 to 4 days or 2 to 3 days. So they're constantly traveling. So from a performance perspective, you're able to control your flight. You're not going to lose your bags. You're able to control the time. You can get a better sleep schedule. It's easier on your body. You can be more comfortable. All of these things. It's not just a bougie thing. I mean, it is nice to fly private. Of course, everybody loves that. But it's definitely much more. And even for the staff and the support staff to not have to go through the airport and carry all the bags and this and that. It's such a nightmare. It makes a road trip 100 times longer.
That just sounds exhausting. By the way, if I can't do carry-on, I'm not doing it, right? So it's just
You're out.
I'm out. I'm not. It's
Waiting
not going to
at
happen.
baggage claim. What?
Oh my gosh! Just to get all the equipment and everything. That's just a nightmare.
Yeah. And I think now, honestly, it's these athletes are just so popular and so famous.
Oh, yes.
And it's and then it's just you're kind of just gawked at in there, in the airport. You're there's, a hat and sunglasses can only do so much.
Yeah.
Basically nothing. It basically does nothing. I speak from experience. It basically does nothing. Yeah. It's the more disguise you put on, the more ridiculous you look, and then the more people look at you. Yeah.
They're wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to go back a little bit because, look, we don't know what to expect with the new administration, right? You 45, Donald Trump went back and forth for a while.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting time. It was pretty crazy. But all of this stemmed because, during that time when you were like, hey, if we win, I'm not going to the White House because he's there. And it went back and you guys went back and forth. At this point in your life, well, let's go back then. Were you like, this is crazy, I'm going back and forth with the president?
Yeah, no, it was crazy. The clip was like from before.
Okay.
And it was done at like kind of a media day. I still don't know to this day who dropped it, but they dropped it like the day before the quarterfinal.
Uh-huh.
We were in France, in Paris, playing France, and they dropped it. And I was like, thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Hey, thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Sweet. And then he just tweeted at me. I actually never tweeted him back because I was like, this is just going to be bad news. And also like, I already got you. You're already like ruffled up.
Right.
And I like know this game. Like this is what he does to just everyone, but especially women and especially powerful women who are going to say something to him. This is like the playbook. And I was like busy and had shit to do. I was like, why are you tweeting literally me? This is so bizarre. I feel like part of it, because I know, right? I was like, don't we have government things to do? Anything else other than like tweeting Megan from Reading? But okay. I feel like because I was like in such a bubble, I was like on the team, we were in the game, we we're in the World Cup, and most of our time was spent just like in this bubble, like with my teammates. And like, it was funny, It was just like, bro, you're being tweeted at by the president.
And then he tried you too. He was like, oh, if you win.
I know. I was like, sir, please.
And then you did win.
Yeah, and then we did win. And then I didn't hear a lot. But it was like, I knew that it was like crazy. I knew that it was like gonna blow up. But I also was like, just like doing what I was doing and like so just in it. And so it's like, we had the game and then we had more games and we had another game and then we had another game, And then it was like, kind of crazy. And then there definitely was like, oh my God. I think honestly, I was like dissociated because I was just like, I can't take all this on. Like right now I got to go to bed and like, I can play tomorrow. I got to like do the press conference and I got to go to the training and I got to play tomorrow. And I scored 2 goals. So
come on now. Yes.
Yeah. But it was just expected also. But I feel like it also did give me the opportunity to express why. It wasn't just Trump, we're not going to the White House. It was like, no, we're not going specifically because you're trying to leverage our platform to make yourself look better when you've done nothing to, you've done everything to hurt what we're talking about, whether that's like, gay rights or, racial justice or like women's rights or equal pay in the country. Like you want us there so you can look good. And so I feel like it did give me the opportunity to at least, say some of those things because it wasn't just a straight up, nah, fuck that guy. But it was just like, no, like you hate on all that we are. So why would we come and support your administration when you don't support us and like go there and have this like fake photo op, even though they did try to back channel and try to get us there after we won.
No.
For sure. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, they definitely tried to back channel. I was like, I know you're not trying to back channel right now. Yeah, I know. We got told that. They tried to like back channel through the Federation. And we were like, no, absolutely not. But we did know that you wanted us to come. Yeah. I was like, that's what I thought.
That's what I thought.
Pretty sure that's what I thought.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a time.
I know. What a time.
But when you look back now and you're just like, that really was happening. Like that was, how were your family and friends? Like, were they like, Megan,
stressed.
stop?
Yeah. Stress. My poor mom. Yeah.
Oh,
my whole
Mom.
family, really. Honestly, I feel like in so many ways it like affects, maybe not more than me, but affects other people just as much because they're just in their normal life, like where people are now looking at them like, what's going on? And they're like, I don't know. Like I don't regret saying it. I don't feel like it was very controversial what I'm saying. Like, of course that team was never going to go to the White House.
Right.
If we had won, just like the WNBA teams weren't going, just like the Warriors didn't go. Like that's not going to happen. So I didn't even think it was that controversial, but yeah, it was definitely crazy. I think everyone's just like, are you safe? Are you okay? Like in your heart, like, is everything like okay? I was safe because we travel with security with the national team. So like I was literally safe and I felt safe. And I also, to your point about like, oh, the media or whatever, I was like, this is the game. This is what he's trying to do in the media, is to like use the power of his presidency, use the power of the media to like knock someone down who doesn't like him, to basically silence an opponent, which is probably what's going to be happening this next, administration. It's just like using whatever means necessary to distract.
Right.
And try to, deafen the message of what we were saying. So that was like, oh, that's the point. I understand that. So I'm just going to like say everything louder and, continue to say things. Because ultimately, like I am safe. Like I do feel that. And I'm protected because I'm famous, and I'm protected because I'm an athlete, and because I'm white, and because what's he really going to do? And because I literally have security, during that time. So I think there was some things that was like, this is all a charade, that he's just like a game that he plays.
And you weren't scared at all though? Like, meaning like, damn, I'm going back and forth. Like there was, like sometimes when you get that little choky feeling, or like your gut, like your stomach hurts a little bit. You're like, ooh, it's going to get dicey today.
Yeah.
No?
Well, I definitely was like, we better win this game.
Yes,
I was like, we got to win this game. We got to win this whole thing. But honestly, we already felt like that because we filed the lawsuit on the eve of the tournament anyway. So like the team already had that like super cohesive vibe. I mean, it definitely like brought stress. I didn't like it. I didn't want it. But I was like, I'm not choosing this. Like I'm just saying the truth, and I'm just like standing up for what I believe in. And I feel like I'm doing the right thing. I feel like I already had the experience of protesting, alongside Colin. And so I was like familiar with this kind of game. And I'd already kind of like come out of that. And it's like, if you come for me and you miss, you're fucked. So then I was like,
I'm ready.
Like, I feel a little bit more humble now. But I think at that time I was like in the prime of my career. I'm playing great. All the things I was like, oh, you missed.
Yeah.
I'm coming,
All the
so
smoke.
it was like, when I was on this team and like our vibe was so great and we all protected each other and like I felt really supported. And so it was stressful and like crazy for sure. But then I was also like, this is where we are.
Let's go.
This is America.
Time.
And then you had such a classic finals.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
okay,
it's crazy.
penalty kick. What goes on? Like, what was going on? Well, a penalty kick normally is already insane.
Yeah, they're wild.
But
yeah.
in that moment in the finals, like, what's going on in your head? Are you not getting psyched up? Like, how are you as an athlete preparing for this moment?
Oh, I'm
right before you
definitely,
kick.
I mean, I'm definitely like, especially in the final, it's like you have an opportunity to score a goal in the final.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to score a goal in the final. Like, I'm going to like have a winning goal in the final. I mean, we ended up scoring again, but I'm just trying to like focus on my breath a little bit. I don't need to be too like in my own zone. Like that kind of freaks me out even more. So it's like there was the VAR, so it took a long time. So I was kind of just like talking to people, but then I'm just like going through my strategy and like thinking about what I'm going to do. I was like that goalkeeper. I was like going through this whole like, she thinks I'm going to do this and this is what I'm going to do. And I've gone this many times and I already took 3 penalties before. Yeah, 3 penalties in the tournament. And I like basically went the same way. All of them. So I was like, she thinks I'm going to do this. And then
What a game.
yeah.
So
It's wild.
you're
There's
trying
a
to
lot.
think, all right, what does she think I'm going to do? Now, how can I change that?
In that one, yeah. And I didn't always do that, but in that one, I was like, I know she's going to have watched film. She's a great goalkeeper.
Oof.
She's like all of these things. So I was just like, I feel like I am going to get her. I feel like
So
I got
are you
her.
hearing your voice in your head? I know it's a weird
Yeah.
question. Like, are you visualizing it?
No, I think I'm like talking more.
You're talking more?
Yeah.
That's
I'm like, just,
interesting.
I'm like thinking, but yeah, that voice is going a little bit.
Yeah. You know what? I saw something online. Who knows if it's true at this point, but they were talking about how you communicate with yourself is very telling. Some people see it visually, and some people hear it like through their voice or audio. So I was just curious, like, if what you saw.
Like, are you
think I'm
picturing
more-
yourself?
Not
Kicking?
really. I don't think. I think
Okay,
I'm
so
more of like,
audio.
talker.
Like
and it's
here.
all like I do. It's like very positive. I was definitely like, I mean, I had practiced positive self-talk, but I think just in general, my vibe was more like, this is awesome. I'm about to have the opportunity to score a goal, which is the whole point of the game. Right. I was kind of like, let's go. Let me get to the celebration. Like,
So it's
I'm
not
going to
calm talk. You
score
were
this. Yeah,
hyped.
I think I was just in such a confident like period and vibe. And obviously throughout the whole tournament that I was just like, I know what's going to happen.
It showed.
already.
And then you had the iconic pose. That should be a statue, man.
Yeah.
Statue.
Statue.
Yeah.
Statue.
Yeah, maybe
Statue.
one day. Somewhere one day.
Man, that,
Yeah.
I don't know, that it just feels like that was such a very, it was a moment.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
just feel like
Yeah.
whether you watched soccer or not, you were paying attention. I remember being like, oh my gosh. She has to do this. Like,
right? It was
it
like,
felt like
she
so
has
much
to.
pressure, like with like really everything that's going on because of like what you stand for. It wasn't just, hey, you want to win. At least for me, I was watching like, man, there's so much riding on this right
Yeah.
now because I already know what's going to happen. I already know what she's about to hear. So I don't know. I guess
Yeah.
for me, selfishly, I wanted you protected in that way. I didn't want you to have to carry any more of a burden, you know, because it felt
Yeah.
like you were
Yeah.
carrying a lot.
Yeah. It felt, there was something about it though. I think just the whole team, it's like because of the lawsuit and the
Yes.
Trump tweeting about it, just like, it all did feel like inevitable that like, we're gonna win.
Yeah.
Like, because we have to.
Yeah.
Because of all that's going on. But it just like, there was something like, I feel like, I don't know, the energies were like aligned in some kind of way that was just like, this is a really special moment for like a special group of players
Yeah.
who are like really put it all out there. And
Oh,
we're
yeah.
like, we're going for everything.
And everybody was watching.
Yeah.
And everybody was critical. For sure.
Yeah.
Every move.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, he had a
everybody-
tweet in the drafts ready for it.
Oh, yes.
He had it in the
Like-
draft.
Trump was ready.
Keep it in the
Yeah.
draft.
Totally. Yeah. No, they had them ready. I mean, it's funny. It's like fast forward 4 years, you know, the last World Cup that I played
Such
in.
a hater.
Yeah. It's like I missed the penalty at the end. We end up, we go into overtime. I missed the penalty. That's the last meaningful, like in a real game. Like I played a friendly after, but that's like the last ball that I kicked for the national team. And I skied a penalty. And I was just like, perfect. This is like,
I know.
of course, like not in a bad way. I was just kind of like, yeah, like this makes sense too. I feel like 2019 really made sense. And that was just felt inevitable. This didn't feel inevitable like I was going to fail, but it was also just like, it's okay. Like the point is to put it all out there. It's like, who knows what would happen in 2019 if we wouldn't have won, but we
I love
did,
that.
and they had the draft saved for
Yeah.
sure.
He
They
was
were
waiting.
They were pounding the post.
Bring it back. Bring it back. Bring it back.
She sucks. She missed.
my
And I was
tweet
like,
from
yeah,
4
I
years
missed.
ago.
Like, I'm not perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. I was
All
like,
right.
I know. I tried. I don't know. I was there getting the opportunity to take the kick.
That
so,
part. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, it all, it all
It
comes
is.
around. It's all on balance.
In 2016, Colin takes a stance and he begins his protest against police violence happening against Black people in the country, right? And I didn't know Colin was protesting until the third preseason game, like the rest of the world. So I didn't know Colin already began his protest. He was sitting behind the cooler. It was just another regular day for me. I'm in New York. He's in San Francisco. So I didn't know what was going on. How did you find out that Colin was protesting and what did you think initially? Like, do you remember that moment where you're like, wait, what's going on? What happened? And like, what was I just want to know how you felt at that time before you began protesting alongside Colin.
I saw it on SportsCenter. I think the first ever time was him in front of his locker.
Yeah.
And I say all the time to this day, you could take that clip forever.
Yes.
And it is evergreen.
Yes.
It's like that is exactly what he was doing,
That's
why
right.
he was doing it. Everything holds up about it. It was so like just crystal clear.
Yes.
And it was crystal clear because it was happening and we knew that it was happening. And, I mentioned, just Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown and so many others, but I feel like it had really surged into like probably the white national consciousness, not white nationals, but like the white people in America, our consciousness in a way that maybe it hadn't before. I think it really like broke through. I think having, President Barack Obama in office for all of that time just like, brought not out, but brought back and out the, racial tensions and the racism that was just, that has always been here. That is the foundation of America. And to me, I feel like it was like just so clear and easy. And I think like being a woman and being gay, and like I've come out and I've asked people to, stand with me. You don't need to be gay, but like I am, so you need to like stand with me. I feel like I thought the genius of it was just having the actionable with it.
Yeah.
That you just have to kneel in front of it, of the, in doing this thing. Like people do, it's funny, like people criticize than anything other than like a handover. That people do all kinds of while the national anthem was going on, and then all of a sudden we just start to talk about it now.
Right.
Like, people are getting hot dogs up in the stands.
All
like,
the time.
All of a sudden you care about it now. I digress. And I think I had started to like have my own conscious awakening and my own sort of reckoning with myself. Like I hadn't even really like known all of this, and I clearly hadn't been doing anything about it. So I feel like I've been educating myself for a while, and then it was like, oh, this is something that I can do. This seems pretty benign, to be honest, and just something that could be really impactful if we all start talking about it. Colin's doing it. Sports is such a powerful thing. Sports is always the vehicle for radical social change, I feel like, in so many ways. And so it just felt like, oh, this is like total no. I mean, to be honest, being very naive, I was like, this is going to totally catch fire. Like, this is so easy. And so just like, you just take the knee, and then all you have to be, you don't have to say anything other than like, yeah, stand with Black people, and like we want things to be better. Like it's just so simple. So yeah, that was not the case. But
yeah, what was the case after you decided? Okay, so did you tell anyone that you were going to protest?
No, I actually, the first time I ever did it, we were in Chicago. The first time I ever in my game, I was playing in Chicago, but the day before, the Storm were actually playing in Chicago as well. And like I had just kind of started talking to Sue, and a couple of my teammates like went to the game, and there wasn't that many people in the stands, and she actually found me, and I didn't stand up for the national anthem. I was just like sitting there. It's kind of hard to kneel like in the stands and the thing. Yeah. And maybe I wasn't even like ready for that yet, but I was just like kind of sitting with my teammates, and nobody said anything. I feel like my coach was sitting next to me, Laura. I feel like she would have noticed, but that was first. And Sue was like, "That's funny you say. I actually like saw you." She didn't even tell me that for like 2 years or something. She was like, "I actually saw you sitting in the stands." And then I played the next game for my team and played in Chicago, and that was like the first time that I knelt. So I didn't tell anyone. Not everyone was happy about that. There were like really no heads up, and I'm like, I know, it's kind of a spontaneous thing. I like knew that I was going to,
right?
When you just kind of have an idea floating around, that's like I already like knew that was going to happen, but like not totally. And then it was just like, it just was, and I was actually so far out in front of my team because that's where the grass was.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to kneel on the concrete because it's going to hurt. And so I was like, I'm just going to kneel on the grass. And then it was like, oh, she's stepping out, So even that, people, it's just like, I think from there, the narratives were, what the narratives were. They were everything other than
why. Why was it important for you to do this? Like, why did you care? Because as a reminder, other than Eric Reed, Colin's teammate at that time for the Niners, you were the first person to protest with Colin. And I know the picture. I see it in my head. And every time, like, and I'm, maybe it's unfair, but every time I see you or I hear your name, I have that picture in my mind because I remember it. And I just was like, why? Like, what? You didn't have to. You could have been like other people and not do anything. Why did you decide to do that?
You know, you asked like, why did I care? It's like, I just do care. Like I do care. I mean, I think I have my own experience in being gay and being, you know, a woman, and that's very different, but I can extrapolate. I have two eyes and I can see, and I, you know, like can see what's happening. I feel like it's something that doesn't need to be happening. And I just was like, this is something that I can do that is like gonna help. I think I just wasn't prepared to not do anything. I think that's really what it came down to.
Wow.
Like, I think I had gotten to the place where, especially with like, you know, I probably wouldn't have like done this on my own. I probably would have just like kept reading and kept like educating myself, and then maybe in my life, you know, changed things or like done things. But like Colin kind of like was like, put the question out to everyone.
Yeah.
Like, are you going to continue to do nothing, or are you going to do something? So I think that's really what it came down to. Like, I just wasn't comfortable and was not prepared to do nothing when that question was being asked. I saw this amazing quote from Roxane Gay recently about allyship, and she was actually like, honestly, I feel like white people can ruin allyship because we're like, yeah, we're allies when actually we're not really doing anything. But she had this quote about I mean, you know, it's true. We had this quote about allyship. She's like, I feel like we actually just need to get rid of allyship, because what that does is just automatically put space between me and you of like, oh, I'm here for your problem, but like, it's not my problem. And so allyship kind of allows you to be like, yes, I'm standing with you for your problem, but really like, it's all that, like, make each other's problems all of our problems. Like, because they really are. Like, all of these isms are intertwined, and, you know, the kind of like forces of oppression are all intertwined. I didn't have that language back then, but I was kind of like, this is something that I can do that like puts me in it and like puts me there with you. And like, maybe people hearing it from me is different than hearing it from Colin, and maybe that will be helpful, or there's something I could do. At the very least, like, I can talk about it. And now people, of course, are going to have to be forced to ask me about it. Right. And then I can talk about it. And then this can, you know, I didn't know it was going to be what it was, but in a sense, it's like, it was good that it was what it was, because I could speak to it and I wanted to speak to it. And it was like another person that wasn't Black and that wasn't looking like Colin, or that wasn't looking like all the people that honestly people just didn't really believe. That was another thing. I was like, well, either all Black people are lying the same lie, or like, this is really happening, you know, clearly.
And it's happening.
And it's really happening. So I feel like, you know, for kind of like all of those reasons, but I think it really did boil down to like, I felt like the like question was really like laid out there, especially in the sports community, where there's been so much history of activism, and there's been, you know, so much social change has been spurred from that. And I feel like I had been a part of that. Coming out was a part of that. I think being a woman was a part of that. I mean, this was before equal pay, but I was like, no, I get what you're saying. And like, I can, at the very least, be here with you in this.
What was the most shocking part of it, right? Like, you do it, and then I assume you walk off the field. I mean, at that moment, did anyone talk to you, or was it all after the game? Do you know what I mean? Like, when did the bombardment of questions and the chaos begin?
It was after the game. I don't think I even started that game. I think I was coming back from injury. So that was like right after the Olympics in 2016. I was coming back from an ACL injury. So I'd played like limited minutes. But then it was like, they want you to do the press conference. And I was like, I bet they do. So that right there, that's really when it started. And then, yeah, I was in every press conference from like there to the rest of my career. I mean, I think the thing that surprised me the most was just like, not people not understanding or maybe not connecting, you know, dots. Cause if you, you know, haven't experienced it yourself, or if you haven't read about it or educated it, like I know why people, you know, don't understand up to a certain point. But I think the just like the nefarious distraction, whether it was talking about the military or talking about the flag or, you know, whatever it may be, like that was just like, oh, you're not even trying to hear Colin.
Right.
And you're moving the goalposts at every
again and again
for all of history, for all of Black people. It's like, do it, you know, non-violently.
Mm-hmm.
Do it like,
this,
you know, respectfully.
Sure.
Do it, all of these things. So I think just like the level of like hate and vitriol and not willing to even have the conversation or try to understand it, that was kind of maybe the most shocking for me, because I think as a white person, I never experienced that. I was like, okay, I can talk about this. I can speak to it. Like I, you know, have at least educated myself enough to be able to talk to things, and like I can like break it down. And it was like, oh, we don't want to break it down. We just don't want that. We don't want Colin doing that. We don't want Colin talking about that. We don't want to talk about police brutality. We don't want to believe that Black people are being targeted by the police. We don't want that. That doesn't fit our like America.
Right.
That doesn't fit our story. That doesn't fit what we think about ourselves, which is confronting. Like that is really confronting to have to look in the mirror and say, how am I a part of this? And it doesn't mean that, you know, I created America and like am responsible for all of this, but I am a part of the system, and I can also be a part of the change and part of something else. But I think the confrontation of yourself and your family and your story is really difficult for people. I think it's still incredibly difficult for people.
Was your family concerned? Like, how did they react? Were they like, Megan, what's going on? Like, this is a different level. What did they say to you?
Yeah, I think there was definitely the beginning of just like, well, why did you do this? Like, this is a lot. I mean, I think they were like, I mean, immediately it was very hateful and like crazy and just like, you know, just crazy in social media, but also, you know, death threats and hate messages and the whole sort of lot. So I think that part was, you know, scary, especially for my family, because they don't, it's like, I never really felt that. I feel like being an athlete, you're always just kind of like secluded and protected in this, you know, kind of way anyways. But I think it was just like, what does this all mean? This is what people are saying. And then I think like, what are you saying? Like, why are you saying this? And what is it? And like, I feel like that was something that was, you know, amazing for me and some of my family members, was being able to like talk about it and, you know, educate myself further and educate them and us to like have that conversation and start to understand how these things intersect. Like, you know, obviously talking to my parents about it, or, you know, the people in my family, like, I'm gay, I'm a woman, there's sexism, there's racism, there's homophobia. This is how they intersect. This is like how they all kind of come together. I mean, I think there's still probably a lot of people in my family who, you know, either don't agree with it, or I think my mom was kind of like, can you do something else though? Like just a different, you know, because then the kneeling became like, I was like, well, if it can't, you know, it's not the kneeling, it's not sitting quietly at the lunch counter, it's not really doing anything. Right.
It's nothing. Yeah.
But that kind of like, I think gave me the opportunity to break things down and just be in conversation, you know, with a lot of people. But I think they were just scared for me, I think just personally. But then I think also it's like, but like, this is what everybody else is saying this means. And like, you know, I have a lot of military people in my family and like, you know, that have been in the military. And then it's kind of like, well, what does this all mean? And this is what they're saying. And then it's like, no, this is actually what it is.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the most disappointing thing for you to see during this time?
I think just the unwillingness to listen and the unwillingness to like take on another, you know, side or opinion, or even just like listen to someone else's lived experience. Like
just listen.
Yeah. Just to listen. It's like, I know what I've been through in my life, and I don't want to be gaslit about that. Like, you can't tell me what I've seen with my own two eyes about my experience. And I feel like that part was, just not wanting to be seen. It's funny though. I feel like, you know, the like haters or what was negative was so loud, but there was so much positivity also that just doesn't get talked about. So many people, black, white, otherwise, educating themselves in the same way. And that were like, thank you for doing that. You know, a lot of black people, thank you for doing that, for at least like somebody standing up and saying thing. A lot of white people being like, thank you for opening up this conversation in my family with my kids. Like my kids love to watch you play soccer. Like, I think in the same way Colin posed the question to a lot of people, like, are you going to do something or not? I think I was able to do that, but to a whole different subset of people that was like, oh God, she's saying this too. What does this mean? Like, my kid loves you. Like, now we have to, you know, talk about this. But that, I feel like there was so much of that was so positive, and so many people, myself included, even through this, being able to like have more space to even open up the conversation, or that sort of being the icebreaker, the conversation starter, that I feel like was really positive and really helpful. But of course, like the loudest, you know, most angry, hateful voices are, you know, the ones that people look to, whether it's on Twitter or, you know, in real life. But honestly, in real life, no one ever comes up and says anything bad. One person very respectfully was like, you know, I wish you would represent the country differently. And that's the only person in like real life that's like come up to my face.
And even that is it seems it was like respectful enough, right? Because that's your opinion, but like just that exchange, and it's okay to have different opinions and be respectful. Did you think Colin's protest would result him losing his career and being blackballed?
No.
At that time, and like now that you look back, but like at that time, I didn't think so.
No, I didn't think so.
Maybe it's me being naive.
I was like, this is pretty blatant. They're not going to be able to do this for that much longer. That was like, honestly, I'm still shocked to this day.
That's
even in the most cynical of ways, if a team would have just like brought him in for a year and like, and then just being like that, they could just kind of like be like, we were the ones that brought him in, and nobody ever did. I mean, I guess I shouldn't have been surprised about that. It's probably a little.
I think maybe I was naive too. I just, you know, we're in it at that time period, right?
Yeah.
Like you're fighting on your end. It's so much is happening. Like I just didn't think that was going to be the outcome to this very day. I'm thinking about Colin's career. He's gone to the Super Bowl. He's taken a team to 2 NFC championship games back to back. He still holds some of the best records to this day. All of that. He was the 4th black quarterback ever to play in the Super Bowl. Like all these things. And I don't know. It still is like,
well, so many black quarterbacks now playing in the style of Colin and some that have come before for sure. But I feel like that was probably part of it too. They were like, we don't really want this kind of quarterback.
This play, right.
We really want this kind of play.
And it's like all those, the racial undertone of it all. I just, I don't know. I don't want to say I'm surprised, but damn, like he really got blackballed for his protest.
Yeah, I know. It's like really kind of out in the open.
Yes.
And it sort of makes it like,
it's crazy.
Stunning in a way, because it's so out there that it's almost like you're stunned that it's still happening.
And I think when I'm talking to you, it's a bit different than someone else, obviously, because you supported him like really and went part of this, and the journey has been hard. And it's just like, no, it really still, that's what they did. Like that is like what history is going to show.
Yeah. I know.
Did you end up losing deals because of your protest? Like what was the fallout? Cause like, I don't think people really understand. It wasn't just, like the media backlash, the attacks on you, your character, and just like really shredding you apart for supporting Colin and the stance that he took. Like what was going on behind the scenes? Like how did this impact your life?
I never got like dropped, but it definitely got dry for a little bit.
Yeah. It was dry for sure.
I mean, I feel like I got dropped from the national team a little bit for sure. I was, it was what, September 16, mid-September 16. I was coming back from an injury. Mind you, like the year before we won the World Cup, I'm a starter. I'm one of the best players. I'm one of the best players in the world. Like it's not making sense. I'm coming back from my injury though. And so it's like, yeah, I'm not at like great performance. And then that was basically, used against me, because literally right before I knelt, it was like, yeah, we know you're coming back. Like, cool. We're going to you're going to, the first time I knelt with the national team, we were in Columbus, Ohio. We played Thailand, and, they weren't a very good team at the time. We killed them. I think I played a half, and then I was supposed to start the next game. This was part of like a minutes progression. We went to Atlanta. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, based on your performance against Thailand, I think we won like 9-0. It was stupid. This so stupid. Based on your performance, like, you're not going to start. And it was just like, nah, that's not happening. And then like the whole vibe shifted, because I had a meeting with them. I wasn't trying to like surprise anyone. I had already done it in the NWSL. So they already knew that I was doing this. And I met with, coach and our media people and like people from the federation. And it was like, yeah, I'm doing this. And they were kind of like basically trying to get me to do sort of like anything else. And I was like, no, I'm doing this, this way. And they were like, okay, yeah. Like, I thought it was cool. I thought we were like, not that I didn't think they were like, yeah, awesome. But they was like, they know I'm doing it and we're cool. It's good. And then, after the game that night, the federation put out like just a whack statement that basically is like, essentially, it's like doesn't stand for like the values of America. And I was like, no, I'm pretty sure it exactly stands for the values of America. Like, yeah, I was like,
actually, you're wrong.
Yeah, I was like, you're right to protest, but okay. So the statement was whack. It just was so bad. And then it got really like testy, because I feel like I thought we were on the same page and we weren't. So it got really testy with Jill, the head coach, and just like the federation. And I feel like they were lying to me and like just not really being honest. So I didn't start the next game, but I did play some. And then there was like another, it's like the next one I like went into the camps and I wasn't rostered for the games. And then following year I was like left off some rosters.
Oh yeah.
And it was just kind of like, okay. But during that time though, I was like on my bullshit. So I was like, I gotta get ready. Sue and I just started dating. It was like all these things like coincided at the same time. Like Sue and I started dating. I was coming back from my ACL. I like got on this whole different like eating and training like program, and I just like got put into the mutant machine, and I like came out a beast. Came out like way better than I had even ever been. Yeah. And so that following year, like that season, once I started the season, and like my club team was always like so supportive and just like had my back. Bill and Teresa Predmore are the couple who owned the team at the time, and Laura Harvey was my coach. They were always just like, what do you need? Like, we're here.
That's amazing.
Like, it was, I needed it so bad, because I was just like in the cold with the federation and with the national team, which was like really the main thing. I was like, am I really fucking like just not getting called in and like not ever playing? Like, I'm one of the best players on the team. This is insane. And so I started the year and I was just like on a tear, and I really honestly never looked back. And that was another one of those moments where it was like, you're not going anywhere and neither am I.
Ever.
So, and it was like that. It was icy the whole time. And it was just like that from there on. But yeah, it was just kind of like, and it was, they made a rule about like not kneeling, and it was just so unpopular.
Oh my gosh.
And so it was, it wasn't going to last for long. I didn't have like the, power of all the owners and the commissioner and the entire league against me.
I wish Colin had an ounce of that support. I mean, it's just, it's really sad. But like I said, it's just like years now that we're removed, and it's like, they really did blackball him, and it's really going to be in history just like that. Yeah. And that's so sad and unfortunate, because it didn't have to be like that.
No.
Why has it been so important for you to acknowledge Colin, celebrate him, remember him? And I say that because in different interviews, and even when you were being recognized for the Presidential Medal of Freedom, even in your speech, you still said Colin's name. Thank you for not forgetting him. But why is that important for you?
Yeah, I'll stay saying Colin's name forever, for sure. I mean, I feel like this isn't mine. Like, this isn't my thing. First of all, I'm white, so it's definitely not my thing. But like, I am a vessel for it. I'm a mouthpiece for it. However you want to say. I mean, I feel that way about Colin, I feel that way about, you know, the women who started Black Lives Matter. Like, I'm always going to say their names. I think just as a white person, it's so easy to co-opt everything and anything. And like the media want that and brands want that. And they want to be able to be like, oh yeah, Megan speaks about racism and like, she's okay to have, but like Colin's not okay to have. Like, I was just always going to bring into every room that I knew he wasn't getting invited into.
Oh,
and
yes.
he wasn't being honored by, and he wasn't, you know, I'm Glamour Woman of the Year and Presidential Medal of Freedom. Like, how am I got Presidential Medal of Freedom and Colin doesn't have one? If I'm going to accept those awards and be in those spaces, and that's, you know, a conflict at times for me too. I'm like, should I even like be here? But I feel like if I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna bring everybody with me. I'm going to say his name. I'm going to, you know, say other people's names. I'm going to always make a point to be like, this thing that now you're fine that I didn't even start this. You're not okay with him. So like, you need to look at why you're not okay that he's doing it. So, you know, I don't always get to like say everything, but I feel like saying Colin's name, like Colin started this, that's the bravery. Like, I'm a follower of this thing that he started and this message that was so universally and like globally powerful and just like undeniably powerful. And that's why they went so hard at him, because it was so powerful. And it was like, you know, undeniable that it was that powerful. And so I just always feel like it's important for me to do that, because this like wasn't my thing that I started, but also of like always keeping that name of like, this Black man who has experienced this started this. This is what he is saying. This is what this community is saying. And I can be a mouthpiece for it. And I feel like, again, I can be in other rooms, or, you know, I got invited to all these things and people were, you know, all of a sudden excited about it. But I feel like it was just always really important to me that he knew also that like he inspired so many people. He should know that. I mean, I can't even imagine how hard his road has been in just being iced out of everything.
Oh man.
Blamed and blackballed. And, you know, to have like, you know, something that you love taken away from you is one thing in general, but to be vilified and to be threat of violence against him, and so much violence verbally and like emotionally against him. I always wanted him to know that like I saw him and like I appreciate, like he changed my life too. Just like, you know, other people's lives were changed. She changed my life forever. And I'm like forever grateful for that.
I can't ever thank you enough, Megan. It's one of those things when I lose hope and faith in humanity, because at times I just feel like, what is happening? What is going on? I see you and I'm just like, okay, I need to breathe and take a second. But there are times I feel like we've gone backwards. Sometimes I look at all the work that you've done, all the work that Colin's done, all the work that so many people have done.
Yeah.
And then I see at times where we're at and I'm just like, what was this? What's going on? Was everything done in vain? Mm-hmm. Do you ever have those moments?
Yeah.
Or is it just me? Am I being like negative? Like,
no, no.
Like you fought
hard.
so hard
Yeah.
and Colin fought so hard. And I'm just like, damn, it just feels like this is like, I don't even feel like we got halfway through the mountain. Like it's like this, it's so tall, this mountain.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we'll ever get to see what's on the other side. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know either. It's hard and it's overwhelming and it's tiring and you're pushing a boulder up the mountain. So the second you stop pushing, it is rolling back on, you know, it's rolling back on you. But I always want people to just know and feel and understand the collective power. Like it's hard. It's hard when you do it alone. It's hard when you don't feel like you have other people. It's hard when we, you know, split up our different groups. Like that's what makes it even more hard. If like the whole country just was like, we're not okay with not having healthcare, like Republicans, Democrats, no candidate would be elected if they weren't doing universal healthcare. So like, that's what I want people to understand is like, we do have a lot of power, but not if we don't use it and not if we don't use it together. And like all of our collectives, so whatever the things we're fighting for, that's equal pay or racial justice or, gay rights or trans rights, whatever it is, like we're all tied together and like all of our liberation is tied up in each other. And I think it's easy to forget that because you get in your groups or it's hard or we don't all agree on everything. And it feels like the other side just agrees that like they're going to hate us. And so then it's like easy for them. And I'm like, yeah.
And they have the power.
Yeah.
They can
and they already have the
blackball.
power.
They do it.
Yeah. So I just always like, it is overwhelming and it is like disheartening at times. But like, if we just like stick together and combine our collective power, then we'll be all right.
Yeah. It's been a roll.
Boy, has it.
Yeah. Really.
Boy, has it.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I think maybe in a couple of years when we have another conversation, it still feels so surreal to have seen and witnessed what you guys have gone through till this very day.
No, it's wild.
It's
I feel like it's wild for me. I don't know how Colin feels, but sometimes I'm just like, whoa, life is so crazy.
I feel like you are, I hope that what I'm seeing is right. I feel like you're loved and I feel like you're appreciated and you
very much
deserve it. And you deserve to feel celebrated and honored and protected. I think that's really important, which is why I shower you with so much love. Because maybe it's selfish. Sometimes I wish I saw that happen for Colin.
Yeah.
So
Me too.
Shower that love to you. I shower that love to Eric Reed. Because
always.
Sometimes you feel like alone. And I felt so much watching Colin and like watching what was happening to you guys. It was crazy. You and Colin did not know each other at that time when you joined the protest. Like that was genuine. That was from your spirit. That was you answering that question that not a lot of people even realize Colin was saying, right? Like you got it. Your spirit understood that. So did Eric Reed's. And so like, that's why I say that, because maybe I'm projecting. Maybe it's because I don't want to live on this earth not giving people the love and the respect that they deserve for the hard grind, the hard decisions that they've had to make in their life that could have cost them their careers, that took a toll on their family. Like when I hear what your mom was going through, what I hear what your family was going through, that's why I'm saying, hey, I love you. Because that's not easy. People overlook that all the time. Like, do you know, not only is it like hard on you, but your family, your loved ones are worried about you.
Yeah.
So many lives are impacted by just one decision. So I say that because I love you and I forever will always have your back. You just let me know. And I know I could be really like down because I still can't believe Colin's blackballed and this is like how it feels like it's going to shake down. But I get hope and happiness when I see you doing well. Like same with Colin. He gets so happy seeing you do well. It's something like,
same. Yeah,
it's like,
same.
oh yes. Like, oh, we got one, you know, it's like,
for sure.
Keep going. Like keep, you know, it's important. And with that said, I do want to talk about, you have dishware?
I got dishware, y'all.
And I say this because I need some new dishware in my life. I've been trying to cook. It's a disaster. So I've been putting it on Colin. So wait, tell me about dishware. How, why, what?
Oh, I'm retired now. So I'm like basically like
side quests.
Yeah, I'm doing side quests and side creativity. Honestly, this brand Felt and Fat, they're out of Philly. They just opened up a brand new shop, like a warehouse in the Kensington neighborhood. Really cool brand. I'm pretty sure I got like served up an ad like 5 years ago for them. When I was living in Seattle, I got some, you know, some of their dishware and like some of the mugs and stuff. It's like the only coffee mug I've used literally for like years and years.
That's so funny.
And we connected on Instagram, you know, a while back, and it was kind of like, oh, we should do something. And it was like, yeah, you know, I think probably both of us were like, this is never going to happen, you know? But their stuff is really beautiful. It's like, they have a ton of different, you know, colors and designs, whatever. So this past year, just like, I think being retired and having more time, and just wanting to do something a little bit more creative and like, just kind of wanting to do something different. But with this brand, like they're, you know, they employ a ton of queer people. They employ a bunch of formerly incarcerated people, and they work with programs I think that was something that like really struck with me. My brother having, been incarcerated for a long time, and he's out and just like understanding how hard that is. And it's like the point is cruelty. They make it almost impossible, for so many people to get back on their feet. So this company's just like making good product, doing the right thing, like they're really about it and about the right things. And then it's like this cool little like creative outlet that I can kind of like tap into. And it's like fun for me. And it's just this like totally different space in my brain that I never had time and, kind of like energy to do. So I hope it does really well. I hope everybody buys it. Christmas and all the holidays are coming up. But they have, buy my line, but honestly, go look at everything.
Wait, how do we buy your line? Tell us.
It's on the website. So
Okay.
it's like feltandfat.com. But look them up on Instagram. And then there's there's like a pink and bluish one, and then kind of like a orange and pinkish sort of vibe. They're really cute. There's like cups and mugs and bowls and plates and platters and vases. There's all kinds of stuff. So you can do the whole lot or just individual ones. But the company's like amazing. The stuff is durable. Not one time has anything broke. So
Wow.
I'm just like, it's actually like really good stuff, and they're amazing people. And
I like the
all
pictures,
made right
too.
in Philly, made in the US.
It's amazing.
Oh,
It's really
Like
cool.
there's pictures of you in the warehouse. Were you like making some of
Yeah,
the
I
stuff?
was in there. I got like a
Let me
whole
find
tour.
out,
I
like,
know.
what?
I got a whole tour and like pouring all the stuff in there and kind of like seeing how everybody works and how it's all made and meeting everybody. It was like really, I loved it. I feel like people are seeing me do this and they're like, what's going on? And I'm like, it's just literally what it looks like. I just am.
You're retired
I'm
and
just
living
retired
life.
and like doing cool side quests, like you said.
getting into pottery. No big
Yeah,
deal.
just like getting
Like,
into pottery.
yeah.
It's fun.
This
Yeah.
is
And
so
they're a cool brand.
exciting. And you know what? Because it's you, of course, I'm going to support. I'm going to go and do what I got to do, because that's what, that's what you do when you support someone. But also like hearing you co-sign a company like that, like
Yeah.
you're a good person. So like,
Yeah,
I know
I
like
try,
you support good companies, and, especially when there's like an alignment in it. So that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, they're really cool. I love them.
What do you want your legacy to be, Megan?
Oh gosh. I feel like that's for other people, but
Mhm.
I feel like for me, and I felt this while I was playing, I had this, huge talent, and I was like, I'm going to maximize that for sure. And then I'm going to maximize that for all the things that I care about and leverage all of that for everything that I care about. And that's still how I feel. I know I have a big platform. I know who I am
Sure.
in the world. And like, that doesn't really matter to me. It matters that I can leverage it for the things that I care about, and trying to, it sounds so cheesy. It's like, it sounds cheesy coming out of my mouth, and I feel cheesy saying it, but like, just to make the world a better place. Like, we get such a short time on this earth, and even just in the span of like all of history, like people can really make an impact on other people's lives. And for whatever reason, I'm me and I'm the way I am, and have had the opportunities that I have had, and met the people that I have, and I played soccer and, had all this success. And I just want to like do the best I can with what I have always. I feel like, what's the point of life? I don't know. Yeah. Like, what are we even all doing here if not to be in community with other people and see people? I know I want to be seen and appreciated and respected and like valued as a person. And I try to do that for other people. But I also know that, I'm me as an individual, but I also know I'm something bigger than that. And so just trying to leverage the hell out of that to make the world a better place.
And you've been doing just that. And I am honored to know you. And I'm proud that you have just continued the fight and you just keep going. And it's so inspiring for me. And I can't get enough of you. And I'm glad that you and Sue have your podcast. And I love it. We need more of this.
Yeah.
Like, do people keep asking for more episodes?
Yeah. We're like, listen, we're doing it once a week already. It's like a full-time job. I don't know how people work every damn day.
Why not 2? We could step it up.
I don't know. It's so, I'm like, I have to be there every Monday. This is crazy.
And how long are you guys there for?
like an hour and a half. It's not even that bad. I'm just like, this is crazy.
Would you
But
ever-
even though I had to like be somewhere every day
Yeah.
from like my whole life.
Would
I'm
you,
like, what?
Would you want to do like sports broadcasting?
Oh God, that feels very serious. I don't
And
know.
that's
You
very-
got to travel too much for that.
I think the politics might be tough for them because, like, I don't see yourself being censored.
Nobody's ever gonna put me in front of a live mic like that. There's no way. The
They're
main
missing out.
networks. There's no way.
Well, the main networks, yeah, I mean,
no chance.
they're
Yeah,
busy
right.
plastering Taylor Swift. Though.
No, yeah.
And we love it. It's fine. Like, we're not,
every time I saw it, I was like, "This is hilarious." Just watching all of football land.
oh my
Just
God.
like meltdown. It's so funny. I feel like some of the broadcasters legit were melting down.
For
I was
sure,
like,
'cause
this is so funny.
I don't watch
Relax.
a game, so I don't like know what's happening in real time. I just see
Yeah.
what happens online, and it's like I'm just seeing the meltdown.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That's
I don't
it.
watch
Like,
the
I don't
NFL
even
either, really.
I don't watch. I'm like, what is going on? What does Taylor Swift
Yeah.
have to do with this now? But yeah, I do know she gave out big bonuses to her cast and crew from her tour.
Oh, yeah.
Did you hear about this?
Yeah. She
Like,
gave out
what?
almost $200 million in bonuses or something.
That's
Yeah.
what I like.
Yeah.
I don't care about the boyfriend guy NFL. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just I don't care about that.
Yeah.
But if you ever need someone to, broadcast with you ever, you and Sue need a sports guru.
Got
Katrina
it.
B. I've been going in on you all.
Former high school athlete.
Former high school. What was your all-time high and what sport?
13 points in basketball.
Solid. That's right.
Let's
Nessa's
go.
be hating, but in high school, that's a lot of points.
Is it a lot? Let's hear it. Hold on. From Megan. Megan?
Yeah, I mean, it's not my high, but I mean, it's a high.
It's a
All
high.
right, you got me.
Everybody is an athlete.